I've been playing Wildermyth, the 2021 story-generating RPG light from World Walker Games, and I'll be honest with you, it's a real disappointment. Probably the biggest problem with this game is the simplistic gameplay loop, but you know, by no means is that the only issue that I had. So the gameplay loop is basically, you go to an area and you scout it out to work out what's going on there. Inevitably there'll be bad guys, that's pretty much all that's ever going on there. You kill them in it's almost like if you think of Gloomhaven, the board game, you have standees, it's turn-based combat. You kill the bad guys, you watch a bunch of story slides, and then you can search the area. So there's only two options, search thoroughly or don't search thoroughly. Apart from some time passing, I haven't seen any reason to not search thoroughly, because if you search thoroughly, you get some items. You then can set up some defenses, tier 1, 2, or 3. Again, obviously no particular reason. This is probably more important on a higher difficulty level, but I can see no reason to do any more than tier 2 defenses. You also stop incursions, so the monsters will first have an infestation, which you can go on patrol to clear. And if you don't patrol to clear them, they'll build up, and then they will move out of the built up territory into other territories, and then you just have to do some more combat to clear them out. And that generally is a defense, especially if you've got defenses set up. And in those combats, you end up with extra NPCs, although they're not actually NPCs because you end up controlling them in combat as well. So the combat is just straightforward turn-based grid stuff. Your guys and girls can be warriors, they can be archers, or they can be magic users. Pretty much the magic user is interesting, but we'll get back to that in a second. Gear is handled like really badly, or at least I thought it was. Maybe it's just because it's simplistic and I had higher expectations, but each drop has to be allocated to a single character and then it cannot be reallocated. So if something new is put into the same slot as something that's already there, then the old item is lost. You can't give it to anybody else. Your guy just throws it in the bin. Don't need that anymore. The relationship part, which is highly touted, and a lot of people talk about how you can create relationships, and there's a relationship tab, and you get bonuses from that, but it's complete cack. Like, sometime, and it's generally just at the start of the game, you might get some options to establish a relationship between some of the characters. Maybe it'll happen once, maybe it'll happen twice, but after that, pretty much nothing ever evolves. Nothing ever is really affected by it. So perhaps a couple that fall in love will have a kid. Maybe the relationships cause new actions to be offered, sort of, but it's kind of, well, once in a blue moon. And sometimes it stacks buffs. So these are only really visible in the right tab. Probably the advantages they offer weren't, they're not really noticeable when you're actually in the real world playing the game. Anyway, on to my biggest gripe, the story element of this touted story generator, because it sucks. Throughout the game, you'll be shown little slideshows, comic book style. So there'll be a number of panels and you'll go through each of them. So they'll either be with some main story content to consume, or maybe a random event, or some sort of color or party interactions. So that might be reporting to build up some party lore. The writing, though, is some of the most overblown, excretable, purple prose, head up your ass, cliche, pseudo-philosophical bullshit that I have ever read. So if you've ever accidentally opened some fanfic and read more than a page of that fanfic, you will know exactly what I'm talking about there. It's garbage for the most part. Pretty much all I did was laugh at it with my co-op group. We'll get to that. Well, actually, maybe we won't, because I don't have a lot to say about the co-op, other than that it's complete jank and makes the game less fun. I had slightly more fun playing solo. I said disappointing at the top, not garbage. There are some neat features along the way, but they're few and far between. So the magic infusion, as I've obtained to at the top, is cool. The way magic works is you infuse with various things around the battlefield, like a tree, a rock, a bench, a table, whatever. And then that gives you various options. So depending on what you're infused with, then you have various options to cast spells of different types. That's pretty cool. I actually quite like it. Yellow characters pretty much only have some basic things to choose from. If you're an archer, you can shoot things. You quite often hide one turn, then shoot the next because you'll be able to shoot through armor. That pretty much covers them. You can also come across random events where you get to make some really basic choices about what might happen. And then I found that with all of them, it would apply a random, permanent, visible condition to the characters, and it would give them some sort of new effects. For instance, one of my characters ended up with sparkly hair, which gave her effects in combat. And then that actually spread over time. So she had a sparkly arm or legs or whatever. I had another one who then ended up with lightning arm, and then ended up with lightning both arms, so she couldn't actually carry weapons anymore. She just shot lightning out of her arms. that was pretty cool. Time passes, so you guys get older. And when they get older, their stats might change, their effects might spread, and their relationships might change a tiny bit, like they might have a kid. That's pretty much it. That was quite disappointing, so not one of the neat features. I don't even know why I brought that up now. So let's go back to neat features. So when the characters die, like in combat, there'll be a number of choices. Like one will be let them die, maybe they'll go out in a heroic blaze of glory, which I thought was pretty cool. And the other ones I like, maybe they'll do something, they'll get knocked out of combat and they'll lose some of their stats permanently. Yeah, I like being able to make that choice. When you have gear, the weapons and the armors and everything that you put onto your guys, it's visible at all times. So through all the story slides and the comic panel-y bits and the combat, all of that stuff is visible. All of their effects are visible on them. That's neat. I like that. And the crafting is okay. I mean, it's very basic, but it's okay. And to go along with the people get older as it goes along, there's actually a legacy system whereby you finish a story part and then you get to choose some of your dudes to become different types of legacies, like local hero or whatever. And you can actually put them into your future stories and pick them up as playable characters. So that was kind of cool, carrying them over into future stories. I actually played through 2 stories, and I went into this thinking that it was a bit of a random story generator. So it was a bit of a letdown to find that it wasn't a random story generator and that it was a series of stories went together, sort of kind of like a campaign. I was pretty impressed when I first played it because I thought that it was building this random story up for me, and we were actually, turns out that it was all set, and that the random stuff and characters were pretty much the only organically grown parts and only superficially. So one of those I played in co-op. Like I said, co-op was a janky, massive bug, so didn't really enjoy that or get very much out of it. We spent most of the time laughing at the writing and wrestling with the bugs. I did a solo after that because I thought surely there's more to the game, and we're just missing it because we're rushing through a lot because we didn't feel it was very good and wasn't clicking with us. So I went back and I had a bit more enjoyment there. At the end of it all, I couldn't help but feel disappointed because I went in with such high hopes, and this was kind of based on my flawed understanding of the game and the potential to build a cool story with friends, which is, I think, what sold it to us, and the overwhelming good feedback that I'd read. I'd read all this great feedback about it. It's such a great story. I don't know where these people all came from, but I can't help but strongly disagree. So to me, Wildermyth is a really, really simple RPG with a few party relationship bits sort of tacked on, some hackneyed writing, very hackneyed writing, and shitty multiplayer. There's nothing in there that you haven't seen before or hasn't been done better, and in general, all the things it includes from other games have been done worse. So what do you think? Look, I feel, based on what I read in all the Steam reviews, that I'm in a minority here, even though my entire play group, of which there was 3 of us, came away with the exact same impressions. Look, leave a comment below, and if you enjoyed the video, even if you don't agree with me, please click the like button, and make sure that you subscribe so you can hear about more things that I don't like, or maybe things that I do like, or I don't know, maybe I'll do a tutorial in the future, but probably not in Wildermyth. That's all from me for now, and I'll catch you next time.